Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever it is you are coming from. How is everybody? How are you doing? Welcome back. Welcome to this is Rush to Judgment with Jessica. And I am Jessica. How's it going? So, this is just a little reaction to a follow-up reaction to the Darrell Brooks trial. This is his statement prior to his sentencing. He was, a little background, if you did not follow his trial, he was charged with and convicted by a jury in Wisconsin of 6 first-degree homicides, intentional homicides, and about 60 plus reckless endangerment charges for the 2021 Waukesha parade incident. He ran his SUV through the Waukesha Christmas parade, and he did kill 6 individuals and injured a lot more. And the jury convicted him on all of the charges. He was even charged with some bail jumpings and a domestic abuse or domestic battery, whatever it is, against his former wording is hard. His former girlfriend as well, and they found him guilty on that. I think he had a total of 76 charges, and he was found guilty on all of them. So this is his statement prior to the judge handing down his sentence for those convictions. Now, the video previously, I reviewed his mom and grandma's statements to the court regarding this whole thing. Go back and watch that for my comments. I won't go back and rehash that. Just had some thoughts on that. So you can go back and watch that. And I originally thought I was not going to rewatch all of this because he did ramble on for a very long time, and most of it was about nonsense. But since it was about nonsense, most of it, I have a lot to say about his nonsense and opinions about his nonsense. So we will watch it. We'll fast forward through parts that I get bored through, but we'll watch it and we'll react accordingly. Maybe level-headedly, maybe not. He is the type of man that kind of makes you want to he's not a good person. Like, sometimes they say good people do bad things, and bad people do bad things. He's a bad person that does bad things. I don't see a lot of good in this man. And, well, we'll get into it because he definitely shows, he definitely continues to show who he really is. And it is disturbing on a lot of levels. So we'll just get started. Start it over. He starts out with snot on his face because he's gross.
Has anyone else joined the Zoom? All right. Then at this time, the court will close the Zoom. The proceedings are being live streamed and family and friends can watch that way as well. Mr. Brooks, I'll turn it over to you then. This is your opportunity to address the court. What, if anything, would you like to say, sir?
Now, mind you, this man did not cry not one time, any time during the victim impact statements. He didn't cry not once. He mocked them. He laughed at them. He rolled his eyes. He didn't cry not one time. But talking about himself and how this affects him, oh, he's all tears. And he's just so sad. And he is just so heartbroken for himself. Not the people that he hurt. Not the people that not the people's lives that he has changed forever. For him. For himself.
Say, I would like to stand up if I may.
Go ahead.
It's emotional. I apologize for taking so long. I want to start first by giving glory to God. I believe in Jesus Christ wholeheartedly. I believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God. I believe that he was sent here by the Father. He died for all of our sins, everybody. Everybody in this courtroom today, everyone walking this planet, mostly for those of us who will believe.
And he does this for some sort of sympathy. Like, because he says he believes in God.
On the cross at Calvary. He shed his blood on that cross. And he died. He was buried.
Like, that's supposed to mean something.
He rose again after 3 days to glory. Took his glorious place at the right hand of the Father. The Bible says that he was exalted, given a name that is above all names, so that at the name of Jesus, every knee shall bow in heaven, on earth, and under the earth, and every tongue shall confess that Jesus is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. It's not just something that I was taught by my family. It's something I believe in my heart.
Good for you.
I just want to clarify one thing. A lot of references was made to one of the things I said regarding my conscience being clear.
Yeah, he said that. His conscience is clear. But now that he's had time to think about it, and people
having the time to think about it last night and
had words about it, he has to further explain that. No, sir, you said what you said.
The victims have the right to feel how they want to feel. They have the right to their opinions, and understanding that
Yeah,
There's a lot
they
of
sure the fuck
emotion,
do.
pain, frustration, anger, hatred, a lot of emotions. But I don't want that comment to be twisted. I don't want that comment to become another narrative that's ran with and taken out of context.
Please
That
put it into
comment was made
context.
is because I made the decision to rededicate my life to Christ when this tragedy happened.
Just when this tragedy happened.
In no way
Just
did
then.
that comment refer to uh, not having any remorse, not having uh, any understanding.
But you've never said sorry.
It was
Not once.
repented, that I have asked God for forgiveness, that I have sent many prayers up. Learning how to um, wrap my head around this whole situation has been extremely hard. Extremely hard.
For who? For you? You did it.
Minimal time to uh, reflect in a place like
I don't
this.
believe it. You have so much time to
But
think.
one of those
What
minimal
else
times that you
do
get to
you
reflect in a
do?
place like this is when you're alone in your cell,
You have a lot of that time, sir.
when it's just you and the walls. One of the victims made a comment about trying to understand why this happened. That's a question I struggle with myself. The why, the how. How could life ever get this far away from what it should be?
Because you ran people over in a
Regardless of
parade.
what a lot of people may think
You did it.
about me, about who I am, about my family, about my beliefs. I know who I am. God knows who I am.
Yeah, you're a bad person.
And I don't have any words of anger, any shots, so to
Why
speak, to throw back.
would you?
As I said before, I had to look inside
How
myself and understand
could you?
why the comments were being made,
Because you killed their
why
family
people feel how they feel,
members.
and they have the right to. If I may,
We just need to turn forward. I don't know that they're ready for that yet.
respect it. I think it's important to state why I did want to turn. Comment was made about this mask. It's something that I've worn the whole year of this incident. I don't. Well, I'm not gonna say don't, but I don't feel like to go in too wild. Chose to wear this. There are a lot of different reasons why, but it definitely has nothing to do with hiding anything.
You brought it up.
There is nothing to hide.
Then why did you choose to wear
We're on
it?
TV every day.
Nobody else is
Your
wearing a
life is being
mask.
dissected for the world to see. When your family's on TV every day in some capacity. When you're in pretty much every social media platform, what is there to hide from? I want each and every victim in this incident, family members, those who lost loved ones, those who are still healing. I want you to know that no matter how you felt during this year, no matter how you felt yesterday, I want everyone to know, all the community of Waukesha, I want you to know that not only am I sorry for what happened, I'm sorry that you could not see what's truly in my heart, that you cannot see that I have, that you cannot listen to.
So notice the small apology. I'm sorry for what happened. I'm sorry for what happened. Not that I'm sorry, but I'm sorry for what happened. Those are not the same thing. Not the same thing. I'm sorry for what happened. You still cannot take ownership for what you did.
To all the phone calls that I've made to my family, that hear all the tears that I've dropped in this year.
Nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares about that. The way you've acted over the last 3-4 weeks that this has been going on, nobody cares like you've given a shit. Nobody cares. Because the way you've portrayed yourself is that you don't give a shit. So why does anybody else give a shit?
But I've been alive long enough to understand that a lot of people are comfortable with hearing what they want to hear, being told what they want to be told.
Yeah, like you. People around you have been enabling you your whole life. You only want to hear what you want to hear. You only hear what you want to hear.
And being okay with that. It's easy to accept what's on the surface. It's easy to accept what's being put out there. It's harder to pull back.
What's being put out there? I can tell you one thing that's being put out there this time in this trial. I cannot say that I've seen much difference. Although I don't really watch the media and stuff. But I can't see that the media would portray him in any different than how he's portrayed himself. He can't make himself, the media can't make him look any worse than how he makes himself look. Honestly, he has done himself no favors. He has made himself look like the monster. He has made him like the demon. All of the things he says people call him, he has assured them during this whole thing.
The veil. It's harder to look deeper than the surface.
There is nothing deeper than the surface, Darrell. The surface is all you are. There's nothing deeper.
And regardless to the truth, I understand that there are many people that would never forgive what happened. I have to be okay with that.
No shit.
And I hold no ill will towards them for that. I have to be okay with the fact that people will be angry. Some for a long time, some forever. I think it was clear with respects to how I'm viewed. I would not respond to those comments in anger either. I want to also say that it's
What?
not me that
Say what?
taking pain away, replace what was lost.
No shit, because Fucking took it.
Give back joy, happiness to so many other things that was lost that day. I think all that comes with it's a process that we all have to go through. I noticed a lot of things that that I've said over the duration of this trial where there's a lot of misconception.
No, there
I
wasn't.
don't consider myself to be a man of God yet. It's something that I'm learning with time, with faith, with study. Lord willing, I will make it to that point at God's appointed time. Something that I'm learning. For anyone who
Move
doesn't
on,
think
Darrell.
that I've spent time in the scriptures even before this, you're mistaken.
You didn't.
Passages were quoted from Romans 6:23 in particular. The wages of sin is death. The wages of sin is death. That's Romans 6:23. It's a verse I'm very familiar with and I've read numerous times.
Good for you.
Countless other passages are all passages that I'm familiar with. The thing about scripture is not only studying and reading it, it's about applying it to your life, applying it. It's not about just
Nowhere in
reading
the
it or being
Bible
able to
does
quote
it
it's about
say
living it.
run people over with your SUV.
At times during this, doing all these proceedings, mostly trial, become frustrated at times. I want
You think?
the honor to know, I want the entire court to know that regardless to what you may think about those particular incidents, they were not personal. Being here
He's just a
throughout
piece
this
of
year
shit.
and the constant learning how to deal with everything, learning how to
Oh,
take
you poor
everything in.
thing.
What you see, what you hear, things being shouted at you, the threats, and everything they have to deal with just being here. It was like a culmination. Sometimes you get so frustrated,
Frustrated.
your hands are tied.
Almost.
You don't know what to do. And for a person like me, it's easy for me to get to that point. And I take responsibility for that and apologize to you, Your Honor, in court.
Oh, good.
Nothing about it was
You
personal.
take responsibility for your actions of acting
There
like
was
an
a part of me that
ass,
felt
but you'll still act like an ass.
that I haven't been able to defend myself.
You know who could defend you?
I think it was just
A lawyer.
hot boiling over. I was wrong for not being able to control myself the times that I wasn't me.
Well, no shit.
For as long as I can remember, I've dealt with a lot of issues.
Oh, goody.
And going back to what I said a little bit earlier about what people see on the surface. A lot of people know what it is to battle mental health issues.
Oh, here we go.
Not just that, but the difficulties of life in general. The childhood I had.
Darrell, please.
Not having a father, having to see my mom sometimes work 2 and 3 jobs just to be
Lots
able
of
to
people
support
do
us.
that.
I remember being a child and me and my sister, my mom only had 2 children. My sisters passed away. But I remember being a child and me and my sister and my mom standing in the welfare line to get milk, to get cheese, bread, Spam, And when you're a kid, you don't understand that. You think it's normal. I remember.
So you're saying as a kid, you didn't know
living
any
in apartment
better.
buildings infested with rodents and bugs. Pouring cereal in your bowl and having bugs in it. A lot of people weren't raised like that. So it'd be hard for them to pull back that veil and understand it.
You know what, Darrell? Lots of people grow up like that. And again,
Physical abuse.
They don't do horrific things.
By the people that are supposed to love you. Trying to understand why your mind moves the way it does.
Excuses.
Why you don't comprehend certain things.
Excuses.
Why no one can provide the answers that you want.
Because you don't listen. And it's not what you want to hear.
I have at times been medicated. I have been in mental health facilities, only for a short time.
And then you don't comply.
I can honestly say that life was better. It helped.
Then why don't you tell us what happens when you're not in the facilities? Do you continue to seek that help? Do you continue to take your medications as prescribed? Do you continue to see a physician regularly? Or do you can just go on and just say, well, that was fun, and live life?
I think when you're going through something mentally that you don't understand, it always helps when you have people not so much that can relate. That also helps, but it's not the relating part of it. It's more of the that you can feel comfortable being yourself with. Someone to listen, someone to.
Your mom dealt with mental health
to tell you that
for 35 years, she said.
It's all right. You can't let your guard down.
She knew what she was talking about. And if your mom's been dealing with it, that means your grandma's been dealing with it. So you should be well versed. You should have lots of people in your family that know how to deal with it.
It's a lot.
And know where to get the help. Darrell.
Back to what I said about truth.
Sort of like truth.
People are going to, like I said, believe what they want, and that's okay.
No, they're going to believe the truth. Oh, does it? Does it need to be said?
What happened on November 21st, 2021 was not an attack.
Yes, it was. It was an intentional act. You ran them over. You had ample opportunity to stop your vehicle. You ran people over. You intentionally stopped, put on your brakes to get an individual off your vehicle, and then ran her over with your vehicle. If that is not intentional, I must not know what intentional means. You are so deluded. He is so deluded in his brain that he has convinced himself that this is just, that he honestly just, he didn't do this. In his brain, he didn't do this. In his brain, a sick individual must have done this. He doesn't know. He wasn't in his right mind. He didn't do this. Somebody else did this, but it wasn't this man. He's so deluded, delusional. Oh my God.
It was not planned, plotted.
I would give you that.
You
It
constantly
may
hear
not
that.
have been planned or
Perpetuated.
plotted.
Constantly pushed, constantly pushed, constantly pushed.
But once you were there,
You wonder
the
why.
intent was there. You intentionally ran through. You could have
This was not an attack.
stopped.
This was not an intentional act.
Man, that right there, when you turn around, you wanted to turn around earlier and look at them nicely, and you wanted to turn around and look at them politely, and now you want to turn around and you want to look at them with that look, like you are so devilish, and you want to make a point to say it was not, this was not intentional. Man, he makes my blood boil. Like, and this is not even my first time watching this. And I swear to God, like, I would cuss so much more. I was cussing so much more on the first time around. But he literally makes me so mad.
No matter how many times you say it over and over.
Just
It
his
was not.
face pisses me off. Zach over there wants to beat his ass. I'm with you, Zach.
I have a lot of,
Zach is the man prosecutor.
has nothing
there.
to do with the victims, the families of the victims. And as a matter of fact, I'm grateful that they had the opportunity to voice their opinions and their frustrations and their angers, because I believe and hopefully that will alleviate some of the wounds.
It won't.
I could never point a finger at them and say they're wrong for what they said, their opinions, how they feel. Never. And I won't do it. I won't do it now, and I won't do it ever. They're well within their rights to feel how they feel.
Oh, thank you. That's big of you, Darrell.
I felt a lot of frustration and anger yesterday, not towards any of the victims.
Oh, this is where it gets real.
It was towards Miss Susan L. Opera. And I won't even throw shots back at her.
That's this
Again,
dark-haired
I choose
lady there.
to take the high road.
Oh, he's gonna take the high road.
In spite of the clear language that was used by her.
Because he's such a big man. He's gonna take the high road. She's pissed.
Not gonna fire back. I'm not gonna do that.
Okay, good for you.
Am I angry? Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
So what?
Double hell yeah. He's angry.
When it boils down to it, the whole prosecution team had a job to do.
What boils down to it, Darrell, nobody gives a fuck. You're a piece of garbage.
Attorney Basie, Attorney Witch, I respect you guys. Regardless of what you may feel about me, I respect you guys. I really do.
They don't.
I respect you
give
too,
a
Attorney
shit.
Opera. The difference between all you guys is you, Attorney Opera, I don't respect how you did your job.
Get your fingers out of your mouth. Stupid. You worried about COVID and your stupid
I
mask.
refuse
Quit
to do
putting
any
your
name calling.
stupid
I refuse
dirty fingers
to
in your
raise my
mouth.
voice. I refuse to do any of that. And I realized that last night. The part of me that I don't understand why it goes the way it goes, had every intention to come in here and lay into you.
Ooh. So scared.
Out of frustration,
Shit
out of the
scared.
fact of feeling that I needed to defend myself by some of the things you said. How you had the audacity to speak on situations that had nothing to do with this tragedy, as if you were there, as if you had intimate details, as if you knew everything that led up to those allegations.
It don't matter. It's what the
Just
court
by
brought
reading the police
against
report.
you. Bro, get the fuck over it.
I think every situation is unique in its own way. It all has different circumstances that.
So he's mad because when the defense or when prosecution, they get to read in his prior record during the sentencing phase, and she read in his prior offenses. And so now he's mad about it. And I don't even remember. I mean, he's got a long rap sheet. I think the main thing he's mad about is the whole incident between him and his baby mama, his first baby mama, which is Erica Patterson, he got the whole assault and battery thing that he was charged with, or one of the charges in this incident too. He got with her when she was 15 and he was, I don't know, she was 15 and he was way older than 15, and he was convicted of some sort of sexual crime. And so since he gets real defensive about that, it's happened before in the trial. He got defensive about it when it was brought up, and his defense was, well, did she tell you that she told me she was 18? Sir, it don't matter what she told you she was. The fact was she was 15 and you were older than that, and it was a crime. So yeah, so he's just mad at her because, again, he's a piece of garbage and he has a long rap sheet and she can bring it in and he's mad about it. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter at all.
That leads to ultimately what ends up happening. Reading a police report doesn't give you the right to pass judgment on a situation that, frankly, is none of your concern. Honestly.
Oh, there's also a TikTok out there. Excuse me. There's a TikTok out there of him saying something to the effect of he had brought his baby mama, which was Erica Patterson at the time, across state lines to Nevada to pimp her out, in other words. So that's also some form of human trafficking, if I'm not mistaken, and some kind of prostitution. But that was just something that he had said on the TikTok, on some social media. You can look it up to. I'm not 100% sure. That was some stuff that was floating around out there. That wasn't in any case or anything to do with this, but yeah. But he's a winner, and he's just so very upset. Just, you guys, he's just so upset.
You would think for someone that's been doing your job as long as you have, you would think you would understand that.
She's
you would think
pissed
that you have some kind of integrity. Even with that, I'm not going to bash. I'm not going to say anything disrespectful. I'm not going to call you anything other than your God-given name.
Well, it's just good because you haven't admitted to your God-given name up until yesterday. Well, yesterday, because before then, he wasn't recognizing his name.
I won't ever be able to wrap my head around why you did things the way you did it. Made reference to this being an open and shut case. Yet you needed a whole team to prosecute an open and shut case, as you say. And again, no disrespect to Attorney Daisy, Attorney Child.
Because she's the prosecutor and she can have a whole team. You could have had a whole team too.
I feel like those are the reasons why your case had any strong points, not from you.
You're a dick.
$31 years. You said, well, yeah, you did say 31 years. But you've done this. 31 years.
31 years.
I don't believe you're that bright.
Oh, I don't believe you're that bright. You're a dick.
Yet, I respect you having the resolve to take on something of this magnitude of community.
Sir, it
Can't do
wasn't
nothing but
that
respect
hard
that.
to put you away.
And regardless, when I leave this courtroom, I will have no ill feelings.
Yes, you
If any.
will. You're very upset.
I know this is being live streamed.
Cue camera look.
I've gotten some mail from Germany, Belgium. A lot of it hate mail.
A lot of it hate mail.
Which doesn't. I stopped reading it months ago, so it doesn't really affect me. It's relevant. I do want to say something to everybody watching, as far as those who take the time, spend the energy and money to write and spew hate, not just against myself, but my family, my children. I have no value in anything that you say. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't affect me. Keep up the bad work.
Keep up the bad work, y'all. Leave the kids alone. Kids don't have
Everyone else,
nothing to do with it.
The people that have sent letters of support,
That's just.
I thank you for that, because it's not an easy thing to show love.
Kids don't have anything to do with it. They don't get to pick their
at this
parents.
point right now in time. It's not easy. It takes a lot of courage to do that. I thank you for that. My family thanks you for that. I want to say to the mother of my children, the mothers, excuse me, of my children.
Oh, this is saucy. This also.
Obviously, I think I should start with the obvious, Erica Patterson.
Fuck you.
I want you to know, if you're watching, I always have love for you. You're one of the mothers of my children. I can never hate you. I refuse to go that route. Always have love for you.
I hope she
I
hates
always
you.
respect you. We got a beautiful daughter. I haven't always been right in the things that I've said, things I've done in regards to you. What I will say is, it always takes two.
Fuck you. It always takes two. He's blaming the victim, y'all. He's blaming the victim.
You reconcile with your children. And that you remember
It always takes
who I am here in my
two.
heart. That you remember that.
Fuck you.
My oldest son, who's an adult, his mother, beautiful, beautiful spirit. I thank her for the times that she was there to listen when no one else was, when I couldn't figure out what the heck was going on in life, and I was being pulled to this direction or that direction, and just couldn't figure things out. She would take the time to sit and listen, and I thank her for it.
And you were probably a dick to her too.
Times where I had nowhere to go, she would find me in the back of abandoned cars or trucks or something of that nature, and she would do things to help. You know, it's a lot of people, a lot of good people
She would
out there
take you in
still.
because you were a homeless,
She's one of
transient,
them. I think
nothing.
Angel. That's her name too, by the way, Angel.
Oh, good. Thanks for clearing that up.
When I was all over the place mentally, couldn't sit still,
Like literally.
couldn't make decisions.
He goes on for another hour. Like this
Trying to
is where
figure
he
out
should
life
have
would go being
wrapped it up.
Young parents, the both of us. She never once judged me. She never once ridiculed me and down me because of my issues. She always was willing to be there. I'm eternally grateful for that. Jessica, my youngest daughter's mom.
Oh my God, that's my name. Stop that.
I believe it's the reason why God puts anyone in your life at the time that He does.
That's unfortunate. I didn't catch that the first time.
Came into my life at a time where everything was chaotic.
Now I feel
How did you even
icky.
begin to put one foot in front of the other?
This is all Jessica's
You came
fault.
into my life at a time where I was pondering, what did I even have to live for? And in the midst of that,
Just kidding, Jessica.
He gave me my daughter, my baby girl. I always get emotional talking about her in particular because she's such a daddy's girl. We're very, very close. Very close.
Like, this is the only part that I actually believe, like, that he loves his daughter.
I felt like when Missy was born, that was God giving me a chance to make good on the mistakes I made with my older two children at the time. I felt like that was redemption. Everything that I didn't do right before, I had the chance to right that wrong.
And you still fucked it up.
She's probably the single-handed reason why I'm even still breathing. She's such a light in my life. Such a light.
Kids do that to you. Kids save you from a lot of things.
Understand the extent of everything that's going on. She doesn't know what it is. Not to be able to talk to me when she wants to be able to see me when she wants to. She just doesn't get it, and I know that.
She's 8. She knows.
And I'm mindful that there are people in this community that feel the same exact way.
She doesn't know. She's going to know very soon. Trust me.
That lights in their life that we're taking.
And I hope.
So without being insensitive to that, I'll move past that. I just tell.
Did you catch that? There were other people. Other people's lights were taken in an incident. So I'll move past that. You're talking about Jordan Sparks. Jackson Sparks. Sorry. Jackson Sparks. I knew that didn't sound right. Jackson Sparks. The 8-year-old and that died. But you want to move past that. You move past that. You want to just brush over that. You want to talk about the kid that you're going to miss and that you're so sad about. But you just want to skip right over that. Man, come on now. You just skip right over that. Just skip right over it. Skip it. Just skip it.
My baby girl, I love her. I love you, Missy.
Yeah, they miss Jackson too.
My baby boy.
You still get to talk to Missy.
I was born in June, during the time that I've been here. His mother, Quita. I regret not being able to be there for the times that.
Whose fault was that? You wouldn't have been there anyway.
It's not an easy thing for a woman to go through a pregnancy with virtually no help.
You wouldn't have been there anyway.
Having to
You were
move
messing with Erica.
residencies because of this tragedy, not feeling safe while she was pregnant, not feeling safe, receiving threats, things like that. And I wasn't there.
Whose fault was that? That was your fault. So good on you.
I know what it's like to be at the birth of your children and to see them born and cut the umbilical cord and to do all those things. I've done that.
Jackson's parents knew that too. Oh wait, we
And to not be
skipped
able to
right
do
over
it for
that.
her and for him.
Well, nobody kept you away from being there for her. You just said you weren't there for
Only know what it
her.
looks like because of pictures.
Nobody cares, Darrell. You did
For
that.
her to not feel safe to be in the city or be around my family members to build that rapport. Because she can't mentally deal with everything that comes with it. And for me to not be able to help her, for me to not have any words to uplift her.
I think this irritates me so much because it's like, I don't know. It just
Her
irritates me
expressing her anger to me,
so much.
not knowing how everything would go. It's hurtful.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares how hurt you are.
I believe God has a plan for
Hashtag.
everything.
Quit
It's about doing the
saying
best you
that.
can inside of God's will. Say what you want about me. I'm not gonna walk away from my children. I refuse to walk away from my children.
You don't have a choice. You already walked away from them a long time ago.
I love all for you. And I won't stop for nothing, no matter what. A lot of reference yesterday was made about death.
About death?
In reference to
Yeah, because you
opinions towards myself.
killed people.
I do not fear death. Not one bit.
There's no death penalty,
fear
so
death
it doesn't
because I'm in Christ.
matter.
Whether we believe it or not, at some point, we all have a date. Everyone on this planet has a date.
The point
The word
was,
says that.
oh God.
The way I see it is inevitable, so why fear it? I'm 1,000,000% confident in where I'm going when this is all over. 1,000,000% confident.
Yeah,
Regardless of
To
what the
hell.
answer says, I'm 1,000,000% confident in where I'm going. We all got to stand before the judgment seat of Christ at some point. All of us. Nobody's any better than the next person. Contrary to belief, I do not feel like I'm above anyone. I don't feel like I'm superior to anyone.
I would
I breathe
fucking
air, I drink water, I eat,
hope
I go to the
not.
bathroom, I bleed just like anyone else. I'm no better.
You are definitely not better than anyone.
I'm a human being. I'm not a monster.
You are a monster.
I'm a human being that's been trying to figure out for 35 years. Questions that I'll never have to answer to.
What? What, Darrell? Ask your question.
I noticed yesterday in a lot of the victims' statements that a lot of the victims are going through the healing process.
Yeah?
Believe it or not, I've prayed for all victims' family members for a year now to be able to make it through that process. but it is a process. It won't happen overnight. There was a big question of if I was paying attention, if this, that, or the third, which I won't really get into. I definitely was paying attention. And I heard in a lot of those statements, people that were having their own mental health issues. Some recognizing what it was, others not so much, but that's what it was. A lot of things that
Yeah, PTSD,
can't quite
depression, anxiety.
Believe it or not, you were talking to someone that's dealt with those same types of questions for a long time. Questioning life itself. Questioning what's the point of being here? To go through all this pain, to go through all the doubts, feelings of inadequacy I can relate to firsthand.
Inadequacy, maybe.
Being made fun of, being joked about, being jeered at, being bullied. Growing up, I can relate to all of that because I've been through it. Not knowing if you even want to wake up after you go to sleep. I've been through that.
Okay, but they all feel that because of what you did.
When you're going.
That was
the weirdest hours of the morning, just sitting up and just finding something to stare at. Hoping that an answer may just fall out of the sky on you.
See, but Darrell, I don't even really believe that you had these thoughts.
Like I said, raised Christian.
I don't believe anything that comes out of your mouth.
I've doubted God. It's time. I think everyone in this room can say that. If you believe, you've doubted, you've questioned, you've wondered.
Everybody has questions. It's natural. It's human. It's
been in situations
human nature.
You just can't figure out why. How did I get here? What did I miss? What did I catch? What did I see? How did it ever get to this? How did it ever end up with this?
Because you didn't.
At some point, we've all
turned the other way.
We've all been in that position.
Because you rode down that street.
Little different.
That's how we got here. You saw a parade and said, "Hey, let me drive that way."
I said before.
That's how we got here.
For the people that don't have any understanding, I can't sit here and be what people want me to be.
People just want you to go away.
Have our own ways of looking at things, and we all have our own personalities, or whatnot. That's what makes us unique. Is our individualism. How one person may react to something, another person may feel the same exact way, but probably not react the same way. People can agree on certain things and still have a different approach. And listening to all the victims yesterday that had the courage to speak and state their things and vent their frustrations and their anger and
habit or principle of being independent and self-reliant.
I heard a lot of
individualism.
What should have been done, what could have been done as far as to the remorse. I apologize for not showing people what they wanted to see. I just ask that there be understanding.
I apologize for not showing people what they wanted to see. What? I apologize. I apologize for not showing people what they wanted to see. Like, our people, what blows my mind is that there are people that really think like this. Like, this actually makes sense to him. Like, this in his brain sounds good. In his brain, this sounds good and makes sense. That is the scary part about it all. Because in his brain, there was nowhere else for him to go butt straight through that parade. There was nowhere else for him to go. Once he was on that path, he could not go anywhere else. So maybe in his brain it wasn't intentional. He was just trying to get through that street. And the people were just in his way. And they shouldn't have been. He honked his horn. He tried to get them out of the way. And they were just in the road. In his brain, that makes sense to him. He has twisted it so much that this is just reality to him. And he's okay with that. He does not live in this reality. He does not live in this reality.
That there's a side out of the courtroom that's not seen. What's seen in the courtroom is just a small piece of the whole puzzle.
No, it's not. That's you.
Just a fraction.
Nope, that's you.
The majority of the time, I'm not standing in the courtroom or sitting in the courtroom.
What, you're reading your Bible?
It's not a day. It's not an hour that goes by that I haven't thought about what's happened. That I haven't tried to wrap my head around how something like this could happen.
You know how it happened. Gosh dang it.
Where I haven't thought about the pain that you all are in. What was lost in the fashion, contrary to what people may think.
Zach, are you over there playing solitaire?
You get to a point though, and obviously it's different with me being in this position and people being on the other side of the coin, so to speak. It's a different position. On my end, you get to a point to where you're just tired. You get to a point where you've cried all the tears you can cry. You've prayed all the prayers you can pray. You never stop praying, but it's repetitive at this point. You get to a point where
You know you're going to get 6 life sentences left. It's kind of at the point we are.
There was many court days in the beginning of all these proceedings that I wasn't even sure if I can even come into courtroom without breaking down. It was times where I didn't even feel like I was going to make it through a court proceeding. When I did have representation, it was times where I told my representation, no, I don't. And that wasn't because I just didn't want to come in the courtroom. It was because mentally I could not handle it. I couldn't.
You poor thing.
Having to be prepped for everything that I was going to walk into. Them telling me, it's going to be this kind of atmosphere and expect this. And it's just like, wow. How am I going to do this?
You poor thing.
I want everyone to know, though. Walk out of the courtroom, the cameras aren't rolling anymore. You don't have the world looking at you anymore.
Darrell, you love the world looking
like
at you.
When you can, go back to your cell, drop your tears, pray, punch your mat if you're frustrated, sleep it off, whatever you may choose to do. And I wonder how things would be different if the cameras was rolling then. When we remove all this courtroom, how would
it'd be the same? You'd be acting a fool in the prison. Or they'd see what a little bitch you are in the prison because you can't get away with the fucking shit you've been doing in this courtroom.
Done things
and that's why you've been acting like that.
That we're not proud of. That we don't know what we were thinking.
The state has done an amazing job.
That's been like a roller coaster for me. A roller coaster. And obviously,
they have helped him
are better than others. That's just like
when they didn't have to. They have kept it super clean.
I heard my best friend speak a little bit earlier.
Oh, she's your best friend now. She probably wasn't good enough when you were out here on the street, but she's your best friend now.
I guess it would be more happier times, but even then,
because she's probably the only one that talks to you
to hide the pain. long before November 21st, 2021, long before that day, I was struggling. Long before.
Nobody cares.
Feeling dead inside. Then feeling hopeful. Then feeling depressed. Then feeling happy. Then feeling upset. Just up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. 90% of the time, not even knowing why you're going from point A to B. Why is it going like this? So I think you do a lot of things to numb that. Some people have different things that help them numb it. Some people turn to drugs. Some people turn to alcohol. Some people turn to many different things.
You turn
Some
to
people
running
isolate
over
themselves. Some
people.
people, however you deal with it, it's how you deal with it. At that point in my life, I chose to put up a front. No one seen me for how I truly felt, then there would be no question. You see someone and they always have an upbeat appearance, they seem to be smiling, they seem to be in a joyful mood. There's no reason to like, what is there a question?
What is your point,
How much
Darrell?
turmoil could it be? The first thing they would say is every time I see them, they're okay. It's not okay.
Your
It's not.
face irritates me. Excuse me.
But I do believe one thing though.
What is that?
As long as you have breath in your body,
Good God. I keep burping.
no matter what you're going through, where you may be, what struggles you have, what you can't figure out, you have to find a way to press forward. You
Oh,
have to keep faith.
goody.
You have to press forward.
You don't.
I think the Apostle Paul said it best.
You could shut up and sit down.
Apostle Paul said it best when he said,
Apostle.
one thing I do, forgetting what's behind me and straining toward the upper call, of which Christ has taken a hold of him. Straining toward which, acknowledging that it's difficult, acknowledging that there'll be opposition, there'll be mountains to climb. It's not going to be easy. Acknowledging that by saying straining to move forward.
I know.
That's what I've been learning.
So glad.
Is it frustrating that sometimes people mistake that for not caring? Yeah,
Because you don't care.
very frustrating. As hard as it is, you cannot turn back the hands of time. You can't. As much as I wish I had the power to do that, I can't.
You'd only turn it back because you got in trouble.
So I have to look at life going forward, not backward. I have to
Backward.
look at reality. I've moved past the actual tragedy of the day of November 21st, 2021, but I have not moved past uplifting this community in prayer, and I will continue to do that until it's my time to pass on. I won't stop uplifting the communities in prayer, the victims, the families, regardless of how anyone feels. I will continue to pray for them because
You've moved
that's what I
past
want.
the tragedy.
My heart to reflect, and I don't want it to be misinterpreted what I'm saying by that, by saying I moved past the actual day. To clarify that, so there's no misconception,
Thank you for clarifying.
is that none of us can go back and change what happened. Can't. But that doesn't mean that my life has to continue to be defined by that.
Yes, it does.
I refuse to continue to live at that time because that time's passed.
Well, your life will forever be defined by
You can always
that.
say shoulda, coulda, woulda. Nobody knows what they'll do until they're in that situation. It's easy to say,
Well,
I
I
could do
don't-
this, I could have did this, I should have did this,
I
I
don't-
could have did that. You never know what you're gonna do until you
I don't
actually
think
did it.
anybody else would have done what you did.
Does anyone think I haven't asked myself that? And I did not. What does it matter now? How many times can I pound my fist against something and say, why, how could this, how many times? Before you just like,
What did you just a little seizure right there? So weird.
Forgiveness.
Forgiveness?
Matthew 6, 14 and 15, forgiveness.
Forgiveness.
For if you forgive other people when they sin against you, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. If you do not forgive others their sins, your Father will not forgive your sins. That's Jesus himself, God himself.
Oh, so you're
I
gonna
point no
say
fingers
if
towards
other
anyone
people,
in judgment to say, how could you say this? And how, like I said before,
you're gonna say if other people don't forgive you,
how people process this tragedy,
that God's not gonna forgive you,
how they
forgive
choose to.
them. That's rude.
I could jump up and down and yell and scream about what was said in regards to me, but why? Everyone has to make their own peace with God, and that's what I've done, regardless of what people think. I've done it.
Well, good for you. I'm sure God is real happy with that.
I don't want that to be confused with being at peace. It's a process, but I've made my peace. That is the only reason why I made the comment that I have a clear conscience. It was not pertaining to remorse. It wasn't mockery. It wasn't to thumb my nose at anyone. That wasn't what that comment was about.
Yes, it was. Then tell people how sorry you are, how
I've chosen to do that because
remorseful you
it's needed.
are. Then say that.
It's easy to lose your way in the world because the world is, as we all know, it's a big place. All types of things are out there.
How big is the world, Darrell?
It's easy
bigger than the cell you're going to live in for the rest of your life.
I can't, and I refuse to live the rest of my life trying to please other people. I still have a long way
you're going to have to worry about that
to get to where I need to be. But my life now is about pleasing God. It's about what He wants, not what I want. It's about what He wants, not what everybody else wants.
Wonder how long he's going to stick with the God thing in prison.
Brought up God's will. Yet another comment that was taken out of context. A comment that, again, was not meant in a disrespectful manner in any way. It was not meant to thumb my nose at anyone in any way. It was the acknowledgement that God is in control of everything. Everything. The good, the bad, and the ugly. He is in control. That's what that was pointed towards. That and that alone. For those of us who do believe, we've always been taught that God,
speaking for
His
God.
ways, not ours.
I don't think God appreciates
what
it.
He sees fit to do, we can't stand in the way of it. No matter how much we wish we could, we can't.
We don't have to drive our SUVs through a parade.
Frankly, sometimes that sucks. I never thought I would be standing here not being able to enjoy the time with my family that anyone would enjoy with their family. People lost loved ones. I'm sure they feel the same way. They never expected to be here now because of something like this. That is not lost on me.
Say something that I did. Something that I did, Darrell.
To suggest that I don't care. Everything that's been said during this whole year, that's probably the hardest one to digest. To suggest that I'm heartless.
What do you think the court should do as far as the sentences are concerned with all of these convictions?
Honestly, Your Honor,
let me go for time served.
And I don't want this to be taken out of context.
So then don't say it.
I believe
that what you're about to say is dumb as hell.
There's issues with me attempting to answer that. And here's why.
Do tell.
I'm still confused.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
I'm still confused on the true
I forgot.
nature and cause of the charges. I don't understand them.
You know who would
Also-
understand him? A lawyer.
I also believe the decision was already made before we even got here. And I could be wrong. That's not a shot. It's not a slight in any way towards your honor. It's not. And I don't want that to be taken out of context as well. I will say, help is needed.
This is where he gets into talking about his own mental health and how he would prefer mental health treatment over prison. So sorry, sir. Wisconsin requires a minimum life sentence for your crimes, and you were convicted of 6 of them. So sorry.
When you've dealt with certain things as long as I have. You have so many questions about where to start. You have so many questions about what can give you this, who can point you in the direction that help you need. There's so many things that you just you don't know where to start at.
A doctor. A doctor.
Your Honor,
Seeing a doctor.
I think that throughout these proceedings, and I've noticed this, that you've been very observant. You've been very attentive.
Observant, attentive.
Regardless of me being frustrated with some of the things that has been, I can't do anything but look at what
Say
what you
words.
have done, which is you have been very, very keen. I believe that still a lot of issues there. I believe that because of the issues I have, sometimes I may have said things that you probably didn't really understand what I was meaning by it. I'm not sharp as knife in the drawer. I think sometimes my mind probably works a little faster than I can articulate something, or pronounce something, or say something. Obviously, it would be hard to top what was already said about you thus far. You've gotten an incredible amount, a credible amount of love for your job in this matter. Some even say superhero. Some people, I'm sure you know this, but some people have even dressed up as you for Halloween.
What is the
from anyone. I'm looking here today to sentence you in this case, and I'm frankly more interested in your thoughts on that than your opinion of me and how I conducted myself.
Exactly. So move the fuck on.
I have a job to do today. It's not an easy one. There's 76 counts. I'd like you, if you can and if you want, to tell me how you think I should do that. That's what the victims have stated. That's what the state, right? They provided their recommendation.
The only thing I can say is one thing that should be taken into account is the time that I served. Been here a year. That would pretty much negate count 76. So there's that.
Okay.
Your Honor, I'm confused. I don't understand the true nature and cause of the charges. So I can't really.
Doesn't understand the nature of the charges. He doesn't understand the cause and the nature of the charges. He doesn't understand his charges. He doesn't understand why he is charged with the things. That's a soft sit thing. It doesn't make any sense. That's the type of shit he's been doing the whole time.
Consent to being sentenced when I'm still trying to. I don't understand.
He doesn't consent to being
It's
sentenced.
not a delay tactic.
It is.
It's not attempting to be
And
disruptive.
it's not going to work.
It's not intended to stop the proceedings.
But you're not going
It's my
to.
honest
So it
opinion.
doesn't
I
matter.
have trouble comprehension.
No, you don't. You're a liar.
I can't say with 1,000,000% certainty. That everything, as far as in regards to me, everything should be looked at in its totality.
You know what the fuck totality means. You understand comprehension.
The
So
mental health
you
issues.
missed me with that.
I believe that you've seen them rear their head at times. I believe that. I know that you've seen that rear his head at times.
No.
I also believe that you recognize the need for the help that's needed. You've seen things as far back as my childhood, and I believe that you understand the certain needs that would benefit. Where to start? Me myself, I don't know. There's so many issues that I've been trying to address for a long time, a very long time, and I don't know where to start. I have no idea. I can tell you that I want to be able to get to a point in my life where I can have the ability to recognize before it happens, when something could become out of control, before an outside source can maybe pinpoint it and say maybe something's wrong. I want to get to a point where I can be able to recognize the signs on my own. I want to get to a point where
You should already
don't
know
have
these things.
a mind that's jumping back and forth
And
all
you
over the place.
do
These moves to
know
here,
these
to here, to here,
things.
to here, to here, to here, to here. Again, it's like, oh, cool. Again, it's here, to here, to here, to here. I'm going to get to a place where I can combat that. This, Your Honor, this has not been easy. And not just this, but life in general, it has not been easy. It's not easy to wake up every day and try to figure out how to stay grounded.
Because for one, he's been in and out of the prison system, correct? They've pinpointed. He's seen professionals. He's been medicated before. So he knows. If he's been diagnosed with something, he knows. He knows what his diagnosis is or what symptoms he has in these diagnoses. So him saying all of this right now is a load of shit because he knows. He knows all of this. He knows what to look for. He knows what triggers are. He knows what all of this is. So him to sit here and say, I want to get to a point where I know how to do this, and I want to get to a point where I know. You know this already. You're full of shit. And you're trying to play it off on somebody that you think is going to have sympathy on you because she's a woman and you've been able to play your little games in the past. Well, guess what, sir? She doesn't really have a choice. She can't do anything for you. She has a mandatory 6 life sentences to hand you. So guess what? Fuck off.
Or how to stay in a I don't want to say a box, but to be able to stay in a straight line, to be able to take life as it comes, to not only be able to cope with things. Things are going to happen, problems happen. Life itself isn't easy. I want to get to a point, Your Honor, where I can be able to say, okay, it's okay.
The prison will medicate you.
It's okay.
Some ibuprofen.
I can be myself.
Put you in the
I can
psych wing.
say, you know what? You aren't the only person going through this. This doesn't make you any less than anybody else. I wasn't asked to be born this way, Your Honor. I wasn't. I was not. I don't understand it. But the fact of the matter is
Yes, you do.
I want to get to a point of happiness.
You also just diagnosed yourself with the wrong thing.
To be able to
That's
be
all.
medicated and not care what people think. to be able to speak my truth without having to feel ashamed.
That's not what
That
medication
some people may
does.
think of me lesser than a person because I have to be medicated
Let's
for
take the
life,
break
because
then.
they feel like it's not normal. Which means the reason why I said not wanting to live to please anyone else anymore, but for me to be okay. Here, for me to be okay.
Here.
Because I haven't been for a long
Here.
time. I'm tired. I'm tired. Some days I don't know what's
Daryl, we're
all
all tired.
I want to know.
Mr. Brooks, it's going on 2 hours. I feel
Yep.
like we're starting to cover the same ground over and over. So I'm going to ask you again, because I'm really interested in your perspective. I want to know as I consider and contemplate and finalize what to do in this case. If there are
He just
any
wants to go
specific
someplace that he
recommendations
can
you
get
have
help.
on your own behalf to make at this time.
I do remember this. Well, you'll get help in prison. Not really.
I don't. I don't want to live with inside this pain anymore. I know that's probably not the answer you're looking for.
But that's. He'll get help. Not the right. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the prisons in Wisconsin are like.
I really.
Let me ask you this way, sir. 6 of these counts that you have been convicted of are intentional homicide charges.
Yep.
The options for the court are very limited. Life
Yep.
without the possibility of extended supervision. Life with the possibility of extended supervision as early as 20 years, that's the statute. And third, anything in between. And then lastly, related to that, there's an enhancer of 5 years for each count based upon the jury answering that special verdict question. Did you commit the offense of intentional homicide by using a dangerous weapon? Thoughts on that?
I don't.
Do you think you should spend the rest of your life in prison without ever seeing freedom outside bars? That would be extended supervision. Should these counts run consecutive or concurrent? Meaning one after the other, or serving them at the same time? What are your thoughts on those things?
I didn't understand everything you said, but I did. I can't live a million years.
I understand that.
So
It wouldn't be a million years, sir. So basically,
I feel like
concurrent and consecutive, I don't know the difference. I mean, I know there's a difference, but I can't ever remember the difference. So basically, one is one within the other and one right after the other.
where
Consecutive, I think, is.
I can be properly evaluated.
They'll do that in
Or I can
prison.
be properly medicated.
They can do that in prison.
If that is an extended period of a long time, at least I know that I'm getting what I need. Not what I want, what I need. At least then I would be able to say, it's okay.
Good. I'm so glad.
You can be you. You can be grateful for the fact that you have experts, or I don't know if that's the right word, but you have people that know exactly what to do, that recognize exactly what needs to be done and what should be done.
I only
To
slowed
be
it down
able to-
because she talks too fast. This is what he talks like.
Like I said, properly medicated, which is extremely needed. I don't. That answers.
I'll follow it up again. What I hear you saying, sir, is that you don't have a specific recommendation in terms of how long the sentences are, whether they're life, whether they're consecutive, whether they're concurrent, but you're asking me to take into consideration your mental health needs and your desire to get help. Is that fair?
Yes. I would say,
Yes, that's it. Now sit down.
and I think it should be. What you said? What was the term used?
The extended supervision term or consecutive versus concurrent?
Yeah, concurrent.
Right. Serving sentences at the same time versus consecutive one after the other.
Yeah, that one.
Serving altogether.
I mean, a life sentence
My main thing is,
is still a life
like I
sentence.
said, regardless, is
Whether you serve 6 of them all together.
to not just be placed somewhere and just forgotten about.
Yes.
That doesn't help.
You should be forgotten about.
Obviously, I don't know how that all works. But I know that it would greatly benefit me to be able to be somewhere where, like I said, I can properly evaluated and medicated with the things that I need. It could be something that I haven't even discovered yet, or not me myself, but it can be something that maybe way near that could have helped me years ago that I probably wouldn't never have known up until this point that could have immensely helped me. I want the opportunity.
Again, I think we're starting to repeat some of these topics that you've covered, and I understand what you're saying. And I
beat this. I want to beat this. I
I
want the
understand.
opportunity to beat it, to show that it can be beat.
at this time,
I don't have to live like, I want to show that regardless of
It
anything,
can't be beat.
that
You cannot beat it.
there is still hope.
You are broken.
I want to be able to show my children that regardless, you can rise up. You don't have to.
I believe I understand and comprehend your desire to have your mental health issues addressed and met. You've stated that multiple times. I understand, and I can certainly address that in my sentencing remarks here today. At this time, it's been over 2 hours. I appreciate all the words you said here today.
Been ridiculously long.
Made a statement.
I apologize for that. I didn't even
It's not about
realize.
It's okay. But at this time, I would like to take about just shy of 20-minute break.
Okay, so that was that shit show. Y'all, he's infuriating. He just makes me mad. I can't say the word. Wording is hard. Okay? Good God. Good God, y'all. Now, so the first video I did was his mom and his grandma about the mental health thing and blaming this and blaming that and yada, whatever, okay? So there's that. And he did the whole mental health thing and he was big on the Jesus kick, and that's fine and whatever. And he just, in his brain, he just is convinced that he needs to go someplace where he can get the help. Well, sir, you'll get help in prison. Okay? So he thinks it is all based on mental health. Mental health this, mental health that. Oh my God, excuse me. Okay? So what Judge Doro here is going to do is she's going to read off some mental health evaluations that were done prior to this trial. Because see here, Mr. Brooks here tried to get a not guilty by reason of insanity or mental health, mental illness, not guilty by mental illness or something like that. I don't know. She'll explain it in her little thing here. And then she's going to go through his mental health diagnosis that he did receive from the experts that did evaluate him at that time. Now, yeah, so we will. Okay, hold on. Let me slow her down because she talks fast. She's not a Darrell. She doesn't talk slow like him. Okay. So that's what she's going to do. So we're going to actually see Now, again, he might have had some previous diagnoses from the past. I don't know if that comes up. I don't listen. I did watch this at some point, but I was working and it was on in the background. And at some point during this whole thing and his whole spiel, I tuned out. So I only got bits and pieces of here and there. And then I got so frustrated at some points that I just stopped listening altogether. And had to do other things. And I don't know if I came back to all of it. So, yeah, so that's how that worked. But she's going to go over some of his stuff and talk about that. So we'll put that back up here. And you put the mask back on. Because you know. It's just the thing to do.
All right, we are back on the record and State versus Brooks. Appearances are as they were before. I want to give you all a little bit of my roadmap for my remarks here today and what will ultimately conclude with the sentencing. I'm going to start with a review, frankly, of Mr. Brooks's NGI plea. I wasn't going to start out doing that, but I feel compelled to make a record of certain things in light of many of the statements that were made here today by Mr. Brooks and his family. Following that, I'm going to talk about the case, the strength of the case, the witnesses and evidence that was presented, and some of the things that really impacted me throughout that time and throughout the nearly 4 weeks of trial. Then I will spend some time talking about the victims, their victim impact statements, and again, things that have stood out here to me. I cannot comment on all of the victim statements that have been, but there are a few that I do want to highlight. And then ultimately go through the sentencing factors. Because all of these things I'm going to talk about relate to those factors, which in Wisconsin, there are 3 primary factors: the seriousness of the offense, the need to protect the public, and the character and rehabilitative needs of the defendant. So I want to start sort of near the end of all of the remarks over the last couple of days, and that is with my thoughts on Mr. Brooks and his mental health. I'm not here to debate that you have had a history over time of intersecting with the mental health agencies, and that you may have in your history trauma, emotional pain, and things of that nature. I have read through not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 reports from experts, people who are well known in this field of what we call forensic psychology and psychiatry.
4 experts.
Individuals who have an expertise in evaluating a plea of not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect. Because I don't want there to be any doubt in my sentencing here today that I've considered that. But I also don't want there to be any doubt that somehow this trial was missing something. Because the fact is, Mr. Brooks entered a special plea of not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect in the early summer, maybe late spring of this year. And
so now, when I first started watching this, or when I first heard about this, one I was curious about is that I did see that part, because one thing that a lot of people do is they do, this light makes me look bald, like I'm balding. But anyway, I'm trying to get it to where this light does not reflect in my glasses so much. I just can't get things such a way to, oh my god. Okay. Anyway. Oh. Anyway. So, no, but when people do like major stuff like this, a lot of times they'll like claim insanity and they'll do something, something like that. So I did read that he did do that. So I wanted to know, and then I saw that he was evaluated by. So I was glad that she did this because, again, being in the mental health field, I was curious to know what his issues were, if any. Clearly, he's got issues, but what are they?
This court ordered 3 court-ordered evaluations, and the state retained an expert to also review the issue. Whether the defense team at that point ever hired anyone, they are not required to disclose that. I don't know, but I have 4 well-known doctors who have written this court based upon the orders that were made or one doctor being retained. And these are reports that are thorough. One report is 24 pages. Another is more of a summary. It's 8 pages. Another is 26 pages. And then another is 12. And they look at the discovery information, so police reports, videographic evidence, things of that nature. They have access to any mental health related records from prior stays or things like that. They look at a
So
history.
they do have prior.
Meet with Mr. Brooks. I've referenced this in the past when competency wasn't so much raised by any of the parties here, but during the trial, there was, as Attorney Opper wanted to make a record one day of Mr. Brooks's competency. And I will restate what I stated at that point. I have absolutely no doubt that Mr. Brooks is competent. I'm obviously well-versed in the legal standard, but that is not something that this court was frankly ever concerned about at any point in time. I know that his attorneys, when he had attorneys, never raised the issue. And it was really only after the trial began that that issue was raised, I think, by the public based upon what they saw. But Attorney Opper, like myself, had the benefit of having reviewed each and every one of these examinations. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but
Sorry, my ear inches and it paused it because I touched it and it's so sensitive. So sorry. We'll be back up momentarily. Put it back in my ear.
I think it's important because it goes also to Mr. Brooks's character, which is one of the things that this court must consider along with his rehabilitative needs.
Character means he's a big fat lying liar who lies.
And I'm going to read parts of these evaluations so that you all understand the information that I have and why it is my opinion that mental health issues did not cause him to do what he did on November 21 of 2021, and frankly did not play a role. That's not to say that he wasn't diagnosed with something. I've referenced this previously, but that's an antisocial personality disorder. And this is what one of the reports has to say. They've looked at, one doctor indicated that there was available evidence to sustain a diagnosis of cannabis abuse, intoxication, antisocial personality disorder, adjustment disorder with mixed disturbance of emotions and conduct. The reports go on to describe what those things are and that they may qualify as an abnormal condition of the mind substantially affecting mental or emotional processes, and thus as a mental disease or defect as broadly defined by the Wisconsin jury instructions. And that's at least as to the adjustment disorder. Cannabis abuse or intoxication would not. The diagnosis of antisocial personality disorder, and this is what the doctor said, reflects converging support of an underlying characterological disorder versus a major mental illness. In Mr. Brooks's case, I would note his history of disregarding the rights of others and conforming to societal norms, including in the forms of multiple acts of violence beginning in his youth, contacts with the criminal justice system, lack of remorse as indicated by being indifferent, rationalizing, etc. Doctor goes on that it's her understanding that this characterological condition would not qualify as a mental disease or defect as defined by the applicable statute, which also specifies that mental disease or defect does not include an abnormality manifested only by repeated criminal or otherwise antisocial conduct. Goes on to talk about her opinion regarding criminal non-responsibility. And the examiner rendered an opinion to a reasonable degree of professional certainty that there was not support for the defendant's special plea, that the facts at hand do not sustain a conclusion to a reasonable degree of professional certainty that because of symptoms of a mental disease or defect, Mr. Brooks was rendered to lack substantial capacity either to appreciate the wrongfulness of the alleged misconduct or conform his conduct to the requirements of the law at the time in question. In arriving at this opinion, the following considerations were significant to this examiner. While acknowledging Mr. Brooks' documented history of episodic contacts with mental health professionals beginning in adolescence, most of the time he has had such contacts or received mental health treatment when in custody. In effect, there is not a sustained, documented history of a diagnosed major mental illness for him predating the alleged offense or otherwise.
So, when they say he's had bipolar or suffered from bipolar since the age of 12, now they might have taken him to the doctor at some point and said he shows signs of bipolar disorder, or he may need to be checked out. And then mom, grandma, somebody didn't follow up. Wonder what happened. So they're saying there was not a consistent form of treatment, medical records. There were none of those. There were none of those to rely on for said Mr. Brooks here. So, but when he was in institutions and when he was in jail, there were records. So, what I say earlier? I said when you are picked up by law enforcement and when you go to jail, you're evaluated and you get treatment and you get the help and you get things. And then when you get out, they point you in the direction for further treatment. Or, they at least, again, in Wisconsin, I don't really know what they do or wherever it is he was coming out from, but I would imagine they might hand you a card or something that can say, hey, if you want to continue taking your meds, or if you want to continue this, or if you are aware of whatever mental health issues that you have while you're in said institution and you want to continue the treatment afterwards, you'd be like, oh, maybe I should go see a doctor. Just thought, maybe, just throwing it out there. But, it's society's fault. It's everybody else's fault because he was shunned and he was laughed at and he was mocked and he was ridiculed because, resources weren't there. Which, again, not gonna say all the resources are available on all of the things, but to say that there's absolutely nothing out there and no help, that's a lie.
Looked at a psychiatric review from April of 2010. At that point, the defendant was determined to have no medically determinable impairment on which to qualify for disability benefits.
So he applied for
The consultant
disability in
who
2010.
Conducted the review noted that Mr. Brooks' claimed mental illness was not, quote, well established, quote, that the statements that he made at that point were not deemed credible. They were inconsistent and not verified by treatment providers in the community.
I hit my table so hard I disconnected my stuff. He applied for disability in 2010. The providers said it was not credible. He could not get disability. This quackhole applied for disability at the age of 25. At 25, He did not want to work anymore. At 25, he wanted disability because he was claiming his mental health, mental illness. Get out of here.
Factor number 2, the defendant's history of violence beginning years predating the alleged offense is significant. He faced multiple prior domestic related charges. He was not permitted in his mother's home because of the history of violence. To be sure, the magnitude and lethality of Mr. Brooks's violence in the commission of the alleged offenses is more severe than what was previously known. However, the defendant's history of a pattern of violent behavior, coupled with other aspects of his history, and this case strongly suggests that his mental state, which produced the alleged offenses, was most fundamentally formed and fueled by contributions of his underlying characterological dysfunction, anger, and rage born of his conflict with his girlfriend moments before the Christmas parade tragedy. The examiner considered Mr. Brooks's episodic endorsement of auditory hallucinations, including on clinical interview with the undersigned, meaning the examiner, and in a couple of recorded jail phone calls subsequent to his arrest. She said this: "I am unaware of any objective corroboration that he presented, either in the hours leading up to or following the alleged offenses, as internally preoccupied or otherwise exhibiting signs of impaired reality, contact, or behavioral discontrol. To the contrary, the defendant's conduct within hours of the onset and moments following the alleged misconduct was organized, controlled, and purposeful. Moreover, he demonstrated the motivation and capacity to take efforts to evade detection and try to flee the immediate area of the parade carnage."
Yep.
She went on, "I have considered the seemingly inexplicable nature and magnitude of the violence and mayhem wrought by the defendant's conduct on the day in question. He has caused 6 deaths, dozens of injuries, and terrorized hundreds of parade participants and thousands of spectators. There is no indication in the extensive compilation of records and other information available that at the time of the alleged misconduct, he lacked substantial capacity to either control or conform his conduct to the requirements of the law, or that his reality contact capacity to appreciate wrongfulness was substantially impaired. In the context of rage born of his conflict and altercation with his former girlfriend, Turmoil, the defendant was disinclined to control his behavior or attend to its consequences. Notwithstanding the magnitude of the violence in this case, a mental disease or defect is not defined by the unnaturalness or enormity of the act. Moreover, temporary passion or frenzy prompted by revenge, hatred, jealousy, envy, or the like does not constitute a mental disease or defect."
Because you're
She goes
jealous
on to
and
talk
angry
about
doesn't
the course
mean
of
you have a
functioning of
mental
Mr. Brooks
illness.
during the day leading up to the alleged offense. Does not suggest that he was behaviorally dysregulated or that his reality contact was impaired.
He looks confused, y'all.
Goes on to talk about what he did in the immediate aftermath of the parade, including fleeing the vicinity, making efforts to evade detection or responsibility.
Seemed pretty
and other
coherent
things.
to me.
Went on to discuss other evidence, including the videographic evidence of the Ring doorbell and being on the porch where he sought to use the phone. He had apparently discarded a couple of small bags, later determined to contain marijuana. And presumably, this is the examiner again, he discarded items to evade responsibility for possessing them. By implication, such conduct strongly suggests his capacity to appreciate wrongfulness was then intact. When responding to law enforcement officials, he followed their commands. He lowered himself to the ground. We saw that on the recording of his arrest when he was taken into custody and detained.
Shows state of mind.
None of the behaviors nor verbal remarks at the time of the arrest suggest he was behaviorally dysregulated or that his reality contact was impaired. Following his arrest and being taken into custody, he engaged in an informal series of verbal exchanges with authorities. And none of his statements taken at face value suggest he was then actively psychotic or that his behavior controls were substantially impaired. She then goes on to talk about the Mirandized statements. This court personally watched every minute of that interaction with Detective Carpenter and Detective Stern, along with the one from the night before, which was at the hospital within hours. And I would concur with the examiner's conclusions that the content of his initial statements to authorities included multiple efforts to deceive or mislead. He changed his story multiple times, including
He sure did.
he initially denied being in Waukesha the prior Saturday. He initially asserted he traveled to Waukesha on the day in question in a tan Kia with a friend.
That he
initially
did not
asserted
drive.
His mother did not own a vehicle, though later acknowledged as much, and that he used it from time to time. Other changes in his story over the course of his statements and the nature
Why
of them
do you
further
look
suggest that he
so
was making active
confused?
attempts to evade detection or responsibility. By implication, such behavior strongly suggests that his reality contact was then intact.
So, to be clear, when they first picked him up, they picked him up on a domestic dispute charge. So he was under the impression that he was being held for or being questioned on a domestic dispute charge. So they did not tell him originally that he, because they didn't know for sure yet that he was going to be questioned or held for the parade attempt or the parade incident. So when they first picked him up, he was arrested for the domestic assault or domestic dispute between him and Erica Patterson. So he was being questioned on that incident. And then once they got more information on the parade incident, then, but he was still lying about how he got there and what he was in and what he was driving because he knew about the parade incident. So he wasn't, forthcoming with all of that. And then once they started asking more parade centered questions or something like that, then he started to be like, why are you asking me these questions? Or I feel like you're trying to trap me, and whatever.
When he was shown photographs of driving in the SUV into the parade route, he indicated it was not him.
He did the whole Shaggy thing.
Examiner.
Wasn't me.
I'm sorry, with the police. She's noting the police contact. It was not until Mr. Brooks was in the booking area of the Waukesha County Jail that he displayed some emotion. And this was to, I believe, Detective Stern, where he said, I didn't mean to kill nobody. Such a remark indicates an awareness of the consequences of his actions and runs counter to a conclusion of an exculpatory mental disease or defect. There's other criteria or other factors. I'm not going to read them all. That was probably one of the more comprehensive explanations of why that examiner did not conclude that there was support for the special plea of not guilty by reason of mental disease.
And he looks confused, like he doesn't understand what the hell happened or what's going on. But remember, he was pro se, so he had access to all of this information, and he had all of this in his boxes of property and stuff. So he could have read this and should have read this. And even before that, he would have had these, his lawyers would have had these and known all of this information anyway. So he shouldn't be surprised by anything that he's hearing.
Were that There was not support for the special plea.
That's why he took that back.
One examiner talked about, again, conduct after driving through the parade, abandoning the vehicle used in the act, altering his appearance by removing his outer layer of clothing, altering how he was wearing his hair, and then engaging in further efforts to leave the scene by securing transportation via a ride-sharing application.
He didn't have his phone, so he had to call mommy and get him an Uber.
This particular examiner went on to say, while he essentially, meaning Mr. Brooks, disclaimed any memory of those actions and could therefore not explain them, such behavior strongly suggests an awareness of wrongdoing and a desire to avoid
He could remember
detection.
him.
Another examiner had very similar things: antisocial personality disorder with borderline features, talked about the cannabis use disorder and full remission in a controlled environment.
They just put that
What's
stuff on
interesting
there.
about this particular report is the description of
She has a
an
history of it.
antisocial personality disorder. The DSM-5 defines antisocial personality disorder as a pervasive pattern of disregard for a violation of the rights of others occurring since age 15 years, as indicated by 3 or more of the following: failure to conform to social norms with respect to lawful behaviors, as indicated by repeated performing acts that are grounds for arrest. 2, deceitfulness, as indicated by repeated lying, use of aliases, or conning others for personal profit or pleasure. 3, impulsivity or failure to plan ahead. 4, irritability and aggressiveness, as indicated by repeated physical fights or assaults. 5, reckless disregard for safety of self and others. 6, consistent irresponsibility, as indicated by repeated failure to sustain consistent work behavior or honor financial obligations. 7, lack of remorse, as indicated by being indifferent to or rationalizing having hurt, mistreated, or stolen from another. In addition, the individual is at least 18 years old and there's evidence of a conduct
He
disorder
has
prior to the age
all
of
of those.
15. This examiner noted Mr. Brooks meets nearly all of the symptoms described
All
above
of them.
because he has exhibited a long-term maladaptive pattern of behavior involving a disregard for and violation of the rights of others, beginning in childhood and continuing through adult life. The borderline features reflect a general inability to sustain healthy relationships with others, including his domestically violent relationship with victim PPP.
That's Eric Patterson.
That examiner goes on with further analysis and conclusions, again finding that there is not support.
So he's as antisocial behavior
The last
and
examiner
borderline
again
personality.
made similar conclusions, also diagnosing Mr. Brooks with an antisocial personality disorder. Why is that important?
Because it's not a
There is no
mental
doubt that in our criminal
illness
justice system today,
in the
we face a
sense that it-
crisis of the mentally ill intersecting
Yes,
in our courts.
exactly.
In the last year and a half alone, this court has ordered many competency evaluations, presided over a number of contested competency hearings, and ordered many, many evaluations for the special plea of not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect. And the bottom line is, for this court, Mr. Brooks does not present as a person who is either not competent or not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect. It is frankly heartbreaking to see those individuals who truly suffer from schizophrenia, for example,
Exactly.
intersect in
Yes.
our criminal justice system. Sometimes they do unspeakable things. They hurt other people. I'm thinking of one
Yep.
such gentleman who was so schizophrenic and out of control. He couldn't even be kept in the courtroom. He was too loud. He clearly, if you've ever been in the room with someone who is suffering from auditory or visual hallucinations, It is not something you easily forget. It makes an impression, even on someone like myself, who's not an MD or a doctorate level psychologist. I've been in the room with an individual who was.
You don't have to be a doctor to be affected. Okay. Yes. So what she's saying is, so basically, I think
When
that's
I
all
did
of the
defense
things that
work,
we got
and
through.
he was accused of killing someone near and dear to him. It's a very, very different presentation. It's heartbreaking. It's
Yeah.
heart-wrenching. Do the mentally ill sometimes commit atrocious crimes? They do.
Yes.
This is not one of those situations.
Nope.
We've heard Mr. Brooks's family talk about mental illness and bipolar. You know, in addition, before I get to that, I've also had, over my 11 years on the bench, of coming face to face with evil on occasion. There are many times, good people do bad things, but there are times when evil people do bad things.
Oh man, I think
There
I
is
said that in my
no
last video.
medication or treatment
I swear I
for
don't
a
feel like I
heart
took it from
that is
her.
bent on evil. Child
Maybe I
trauma, bipolar, indifference, physical abuse of a child, or even childhood trauma did not cause Darrell
a
Brooks
common
to
thing.
commit the acts for which he will be sentenced here today.
No.
It is very clear to this court that he understands the difference between right and wrong, and that he
Yep.
simply chooses to ignore his conscience.
Yep.
He is fueled by anger and rage.
Yep.
Some people, unfortunately, choose a path of evil. And I think, Mr. Brooks, you are one of those such persons. As a mom, my heart breaks for your family, for your mom, and for your grandmother. The son that she raised, the grandson that your grandmother knew, the hopes and dreams they had for your life, they're gone. And I think it's perhaps far easier for them to blame a mental illness than to perhaps come to grips with their son did very, very bad things, due to very bad
He has a blow up here in
motivations.
a little bit. After that, we can be done.
One of the things ultimately that will happen when you are in prison, sir, is that the Department of Corrections, they are statutorily responsible for your care and your well-being, including
Yep.
your mental health. I do not have any authority to dictate to them where you go or how they treat you. That is
Nope.
far different than when there is support for a plea of not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect, because then the court has available what is called treatment facilities and a commitment to such a treatment facility. That is something that is simply not on the table. And again, 4 evaluations, not even my own assessment, but 4 evaluations from licensed professionals say otherwise, even in the face of your family saying that, and even in the face of you claiming that. I'm not even here to say that some of those things can't coexist, and you might not have
Use the
some
crazy
of your
train if you
own
want
mental health
to.
issues, whether it be
but it
bipolar,
doesn't
childhood
matter.
trauma, or things of that nature. But the bottom line is none of that caused you to do what you did on November 21 of 2021.
Nope.
I want to next
You
turn
caused you to do that.
the trial in this case. And I think it's important
I wish you would have been harder on him.
that the sentence here today focuses on your conduct on November 21 of 2021 and the moments leading up to that tragic and fateful decision of yours to drive through the Waukesha Christmas parade. And of course, the moments after. I, of course, through my sentencing remarks and ultimately what I do here today, I can't answer all of the questions. I can't address all of the issues, including the why. Perhaps the one question that will remain unanswered. Why? Why did you
She's so
barrel
dramatic.
down White Rock Avenue? Why did you not stop? Why did you keep going? Many of us in this courtroom sat through the entire trial.
Yep.
And what we learned is that very
That
early
you
on in
are
the
a
afternoon
sack of shit.
November 21, starting at around 1 p.m., the police got ready for the parade. The staging area was set up. That was all along White Rock Avenue. Signs were put in place. Ultimately, barricades were put up at a number of locations on Main Street and surrounding that. We know, because we heard from Sergeant Warner about what he had done, and he had, right before the start of the parade, had driven down the parade route. It was on his shoulders, his responsibility to make sure everything was safe and in order. What's important about that staging area, sir, is we know that that is where the altercation with Erica Patterson really came to a head. We all watched that video, multiple videos.
Yep.
And we know that even before that, you appeared angry and upset. Two individuals testified about.
So he was angry and upset with Erica Patterson because he was put in jail due to a previous domestic altercation, domestic abuse issue between him and her. And he was put in jail with a bond. She didn't bond him out. He was mad at her. He went to meet her. And while his mom bonded him out, I think it was the week prior that he had been in jail. And then Erica couldn't bond him out or wouldn't bond him out. She was living in an abuse, a DV shelter, and agreed to meet with him. And I don't know if she agreed to give him money or he was just wanting to get money from her or what the case may be. But she and him were going to meet, and they got into it. He punched her. And in a previous incident, he also ran her over. They have a lot of issues. This man is not a first-time offender by any means on anything. He's also hit a person before. So this is not first-time offense in running somebody over in the same vehicle. He also has music videos with Math Boy Fly. Look him up on, I don't know if it's on the YouTube. I haven't looked it up. But Math Boy Fly, that was his stage name. He's got the videos, rap videos. What the business? Okay? Jesus, Lord have mercy. But he's got music videos with the red Ford Escape SUV in the background. But bro, it wasn't him. They have pictures of him in the front seat of the car, driving. But it wasn't him. Okay.
About you being at that mobile gas station, how you turned the wrong way down a one-way street, waved your hands in the air, rolled down your window, either exchanged gestures or words with one of the drivers. Perhaps 30 minutes or so before the start of the parade, maybe an hour or so before you drove down the parade route. But what's important is the signage. Even you, at one point, I believe when you were talking with Detective Carpenter, noted, it was my words, my assessment, it was clear something was going on. I think what you said was a lot of shit was blocked off. You'd driven past those signs on the staging area. The fact remains they were there, sir. And the fact remains is you told Detective Carpenter that. We then heard from the witnesses related to Ms. Patterson. We heard from Corey Runkle. We heard from Erica Patterson herself. My impression, based upon Erica Patterson's testimony, who, by the way, she showed grace and dignity facing you, the man who clearly has no regard for her.
Oh, he
as a brother of one of your
cross-examined
children,
her.
as someone you had a
He's
domestic
such a
partnership
dick.
with.
He
and a
sat there and
relationship
tried
with
to
at one
ask
point.
her fucking stupid questions.
No, and I would say this goes to your character. What was shown through that altercation and going up the hill, following her, slapping her, you know, the rules don't matter to you, not the rules of the road, not the rules established by court orders, not the rules even of decorum and decency. And I'll get to this more fully when I talk about your character. And I know you
He's mad.
went hard at Attorney Opper for her bringing these things up, but those are legitimate, lawful sentencing considerations. And when I get to that point, I'll tell you the case law that supports that. Your character, even your pending
This is where he
cases.
gets mad.
We know
You
at
don't
the
need no
time of
case
all of this,
law.
right? You were out on bond for 2 felony cases, one involving a handgun, one involving the same vehicle.
Because he
Erica
shot at
Patterson,
his
and one involving
nephew.
ultimately intimidation of Ms. Patterson.
Mm-hmm.
We know
Oh, he's
that on November 20th,
he's also got pending cases in Milwaukee against 4 domestic assault against Erica Patterson and intimidating the witness, which is Erica Patterson.
some physical.
Contact with her on the 20th.
Mr. Brooks, this is my time. You
That's the
need to
reason-
not
That's
interrupt.
the reason why the charge was dropped.
Mr. Brooks,
because the state
you need to stop.
said specifically, wrote you, Your Honor, and said that they know it was no incident that day.
Mr.
And now
Brooks,
you want to sit up here,
do not interrupt
now
me
you
or you
didn't
will
say
be
there was
removed
no
to the other
and
incident
now you
that
want
day.
to sit up here
Stop
and try
now.
to add something in that you know for a fact never even happened. You want to sit up here
Mr.
and talk
Brooks,
about
every
who has
time
grace and all this. You talking about someone with 5 kids that don't have custody.
you need to stop
None of
right
them.
now or you will be removed.
Remove me then.
All right? He will be removed. He can
Somebody that has 5 kids and doesn't have custody of any of them. Bitch, where are your kids? Fuck off.
not simply stay
I don't
quiet when
consent to
this
being
court talks.
sentenced anyway. I don't consent to this. Just like I told you, I don't know the.
We'll be in recess until
I
don't
don't
even
consent to this.
understand
I don't
the
consent
true
to
nature.
this. Don't nobody give a shit if you consent to this, motherfucker. You. Sorry. I apologize. Sir, you're getting sentenced to a lot of things, and nobody cares. Ooh, lordy, lordy, lordy. Oh my God, where'd that go? Mm-mm-mm. Well, that was fun. That was fun. That was fun. So I had some opinions. I had some thoughts. Had some things, and that's it. That's all. Hope you enjoyed it. Yeah. So if you are interested, you can go back and you can watch Darrell Brooks' trial. It's all out there. No, I did not cover it, and I will not go back and redo that one because I did actually watch all of that one. But I just had some thoughts on these particular days because he was so full of shit. And I don't know, just thought I had some input on some things in these situations. So that is why I decided to do these. But otherwise, no, I will not go back and rewatch that whole shit show. Not a chance. Because I did watch that as it was happening, and no, not gonna do it again. But feel free. It was a lot of that, but more of him acting a fool. I mean, I do recommend it. It was a lot of entertainment, but whew, Lord, it was, can't do it again. But yeah, so end of story. He got sentenced to 6 life sentences without parole, to run one right after the other, consecutive, concurrent. Someone who can keep those set straight, let me know. And then for all of the reckless endangerment, he got 17 and a half years for every single one of them. I think there was 65. So 17 and a half times 65. I don't math, but all of that. And then the 2 bail jumpings and the domestic assault. He got a lot of time. He said he can't live a million years. Well, it doesn't matter how many years you live. You're living them all in the prison. So, and you will go away and you will be forgotten. And that's just how it works. Because after this, you're done. That's it. That's all she wrote for you. But yeah, so that's all I got on this one. And I will be working on a couple other things. And I shall see you on the next one. All right. Later.